Text 41 today. यद्यद्विभूतिमत्सत्त्वम् श्रीमद् ऊर्जितमेव वा तत्तद् एवावगच्छत्वम् मम तेजो अंशसम्भवम् Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or the material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. Text 42. अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विस्ताभ्याहम् इदं कृत्स्नम् एकं शेन स्थितो जगत्. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes. By his entering into all the things as a super soul. The Lord tells here Arjuna that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as super soul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and all and is sustaining them. There is a mission that regularly propounds that worship. There is a mission that regularly propounds that worship of any demigod will lead one to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Supreme Goal. But worship of demigods is thoroughly discouraged herein because even the greatest demigods, like Brahma and Shiva, represent only a part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin of everyone born, and no one is greater than him. He is Asama Urdhava, which means that no one is superior to him and that no one is equal to him. In the Padma Puran, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with the demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, becomes at once an atheist. If, however, one thoroughly studies the different descriptions of the opulence and expansions of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Shri Krishna and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. The Lord is all pervading. By the expansion of his partial representation, the super soul, who enters into everything that is. Pure devotees therefore concentrate their minds in Krishna consciousness, in full devotional service. Therefore, they are always situated in the transcendental position. Devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 through 11. That is a way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. A great Acharya in the disciplic succession from Krishna concludes his commentary on this chapter by saying, Yachaktileshat Suryadya Bhavanti Ati Ugratejasah Yadamshena Dhritam Vishwam Sa Krishno Dashame Archate. From Lord Krishna's potent energy, even the powerful sun gets its power. And by Krishna's partial expansion, the whole world is maintained. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna is worshipable. This ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose to the 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the opulence of the Absolute. The Lord here tells Arjuna that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. The attempts to understand the reality of this world in its separate opulence or grandeur is always baffling. Srimad Bhagavatam explains that just like a small child, when the small child, out of his playful proclivities in his play, the small child takes a lattu and pulls a thread and puts the lattu in motion, and then the lattu is orbiting. Yeah. What do you call that in English? Top, top, huh? Huh? Gyration. Object is called as top. Okay. So the top rotates and the top revolves also. Some trajectories. So Bhagavatam, it is explained that in a similar way, the Lord sets all these planetary systems into motion. Now, the interesting point is here. I mean, this is a nice analogy, and you can understand how amazing is the Supreme Lord. How everything which is happening in this world is the Lord's pastime, and it's the Lord's play actually, and it is set into motion, is it not? Like that. So, so in that sense, actually, uh, we can understand that's the Lord's playful proclivity, is it not? And, uh, and we see, uh, say, for example, Lord Varahadev. Now, it's like, it's like now Lord Varahadev actually rescuing Mother Earth. We can see all this as the Lord's proclivity, playful pastime. And you see how the Lord is uh, uh, the Lord is taking out Mother Earth on the tip of his nose, like that. So we can see that in sports. Sometimes people, say in football it happens. Sometimes people, hit the goal with their head. Actually, is it not? Sometimes it's a kick. Sometimes it's a head. It's a bang from the head. So it's sports. It's playful proclivities. Is it not? Like that. Similarly, in the same way, the Lord has his playful proclivities. Is it not? Yeah. The uh, so, so you give a shot in volleyball. Also, you can give a shot from the head. Actually, you can hit from the head. The ball from the head. So like that, the Lord is always steps further. The Lord can hit from the nose also because he doesn't have to wear a nose pad. Like that. Is it not? Or a face pad. Lord can do it that way. So this is playful proclivities actually. Now this universe can be understood with playful proclivities, is it not? Now the so now the ridiculous point comes here that 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 you see the note now that the living entities attempt to understand the world. On the first note, it goes separate from Krishna. So now it goes separate from Krishna. Then on the next note, it goes separate from any concept of any personality. So now it's all reduced to some equations and potentials and so on and so forth. And now that same now we try to understand that that same problem statement becomes so ridiculous. A child has set a top into motion and the top is doing some trajectory and you're trying to understand, okay, what is the force equation, what is the potential equation and all that. It unnecessarily makes the whole scene so complex, so complex, so complex that as it grows, you're not able to understand anything further and you're not able to go anywhere further. It was so complex. Like Bhagavatam explains about uh, the sun god, the sun god. So Bhagavatam explains about the sun god. Now the sun god is now they say okay, sun is moving north, not to south, not to south. So it's the trajectory of the sun god. Now he's moving in his ratha. Now if you want to make sense of that trajectory, now I mean as long as you know now as long as the motion is straight, uh, you can try to fit in a force equation, curve fitting and all that and try to see something what is happening. But it's the sweet will of the sun god. If he wants to take a turn, he can, is it not? And if he takes a turn, all equations are going to fail, is it not? So that is the whole point. Now the sun god is moving out of his free will, and now what speed is moving and how and all that. That's going to be that's going to be baffling because it's a person who is driving it. How ridiculous it is it not? You want to give a force equation on to the person who's in full control of the situation, who is driving out of his own sweet will. So we know this. It's a so I believe it's the sun god and his ratha is that effulgent, that sun, like that. So that's how the radiance is coming from, is it not? That's how the radiance is coming from. Because the same thing Maharaj Priyavrat did. Maharaj Priyavrat make his ratha as effulgent as Lord Vivaswan's ratha, like that. He made his ratha and he went to like North 24 Parganas, South 24 Parganas, like that. So like that. So he went to the next opposite end actually, and then he was doing complete opposite. So that means that the world was never having darkness because wherever there was darkness was Maharaj Priyavrat's son. So his ratha he made as a Everton. So he used the same technology. Now, if you want to make a force and potential equation on that, you know, if you want to make a force and potential equation, it's a very ridiculous phenomenon. Actually, it's just like cooking. Cooking is not very difficult. I mean, if you have a little exposure, and if you know a little bit, uh, so I mean, if you just stand and if you know the recipe, then no, maybe after one trial you can get to the good level of a product, acceptable level, enjoyable, relishable level of the product, and you can make any wonderful sweet, and I can make cakes, and you can make some very nice sweets and everything, like that. Now, if you want to map all that into mathematical equations of transformations, what is happening, and you give a terminology called as transformation potential, and how the transformation potential, the how the or if you talked about in terms of linear algebra, so what operator is acting and what transformation is happening, or if you want to talk about in tensors, language and all that, it's a very ridiculous affair, like that. So you can keep making equations years and years, and there can be another person who may be who may be illiterate, and he'll keep eating. He'll have a nice time. Okay, so you spend your whole life, making equations, and this fellow spends his whole life eating sweets. Is it not? So it's as ridiculous as that. Is it not? So it's as ridiculous as that. Is it not? So it's like, so you cannot no, you cannot, the whole attempt of mapping a personality to to a trajectory is very ridiculous, is it not? Now you can say, okay, so now suppose if you say that, okay, the person is, so if a person is walking, now if he's walking straight, you can make equation, equation, equation. In between, you will feel, now in between, suppose now you have made all equations and you're able to map it to the data and all that, and it's all going nice. In between, the person feel a little excited. Instead of walking, he starts jumping, like that. He starts doing round around and walking, so, like that. All equations are going to fail there, is it not? That's what happens when we embark upon the understanding of the universe. It is exactly like that. How do we understand this? We can understand this very clearly. The proof is given by this, empirical, the proof is given by this mechanistic science itself. Why? Because in mechanistic science attempt, or if we study the evolution of the attempt of the mechanistic science to understand the universe and life, you will see that mechanistic science, you know, uh, uh, when it starts and as it evolves, you will see as it evolves, what increases is the complicacy. What is increasing is the complication, complication, complication. And after some time, it becomes so complicated that you just don't know what's happening. Is it not? So that's how it goes. So if you say for example, mechanics, uh, if you see, for example, mechanics, now mechanics started with, the whole drive of mechanics in the 18th century and 17th century started with the no it all started with Newtonian ideas, and it was appearing that, okay, Newtonian mechanics is so powerful, so simple and so powerful, but then as it grows, then it doesn't work. you know it's like that. So now why it doesn't work? It is very simple why it doesn't work, because the Lord enters everything. And when he enters everything, he's in a different mood in every place. And because he's in a different mood, there is a different trajectory. Is it difficult to understand? Like that, So, uh, so like for his, no, so this is the whole point, Say for example, if the person is in his office, and the person will be in a different mood because it is office. Is it not? There will be all protocols, like that. You can give equations maybe a bit there, is it not? Okay, the person will come 11 o'clock, he'll slip his tea, but he can sip tea again at 12 o'clock also. There your equations are going to fail. But okay, you can say fine. Now when a person is going to home, he's in a little more excited mode, is it not? So in an excited mode, it will be more difficult to map equations. Then you need a different matrix altogether. And now if a person is going for a new acquaintance, he'll be in a super skeptical mode. So depending on place, person in different mode, therefore will behave differently, is it not? So similarly, the Lord's control is going to be different in different scales. Is it difficult to understand? But now if you want to say equations wise, very difficult, is it not? So they were assuming that. So then there was this thing that, okay, these three equations of Newton, or whatever, 4 or 5 equations of Newton, now they can describe the whole mechanics of the world. But then they saw it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So the whole classical regime doesn't work actually. And there were even superstars like Einstein who were trying to defend it, but then they failed, because it doesn't really work. So if that doesn't work, then they went to subatomic domains. It doesn't really work. Then what works? No. So so then what works is now then they coined or they discovered the whole understanding of quantum mechanics. And and now if you see quantum mechanics, if you grow no, now quantum mechanics, the first equation of Schrodinger equation, and which is the backbone, the bread and butter of quantum mechanics, the Schrodinger equation. Now the Schrodinger equation is so amazing that it's a very amazing concept. It's a very amazing equation. The only problem is you can never solve it. Schrodinger equation you can never solve it because it's so complex. Is it not? So then you can never solve it because it has so many dimensions and it is so difficult actually not to be able to solve it. So then the whole drive of the science as it grows is to come up with the approximations so that you can come near to some solution which can help you solve the Schrodinger equation. Everything is based on that, is it not? So that means what? What you're discovering is that things are so complicated. It's so complicated like that. And then you move further in quantum mechanics, the quantum science. Quantum science is just a clapping science. Wow, wow, wonderful, you know? Is it not? That's all quantum mechanics is. And quantum scientists, they're humble enough to accept that, we cannot explain why. We can only say wow. Is it not? Don't ask how, just say wow. That's quantum science, is it not? In simple words, this is exactly what quantum science is all about. So now it has come to that level that nobody wants to, understand also why and how. They just say principle has come, just tap it, patent it. I mean, make some technology because you cannot patent a principle. Make some technology, patent it, churn money, and chill out. That's all. So this okay, quantum entanglement. Okay, it exists. Why it exists? How it exists? Forget it. It exists now. Make a product made, patent. Money, $1 million, finish. That's what they are all about, actually. Is it not? So this is where it goes. Now, if you see again quantum mechanics, this uh, now if you again see further quantum mechanics, then it talks about one subatomic particle, second subatomic particle. But subatomic particles don't exist in numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a family that okay, one husband, one wife, or no, 5 children, 10 children. They don't exist in that way. They exist in millions. You know? It's as simple as that. And now when the thing is now, but if you see from the approach of quantum science, then you will see that okay, one atom, you can describe a dynamics, you can give a well equation and all that. You make it 100 atoms, the whole science starts shaking. Many body systems so complex, so complex, so complex. Again, it blows up. It blows up the whole thing like that. Now, just like we went to Singapore, NUS, so we were into experimental quantum science. This is not experimental quantum physics actually. So it's like using qubits, making qubits of ions, barium, cadmium, ytterbium ions. One ion, fine. Single qubit, fine. You know, but you make it into but no making no if you make it no if you want to make from 1 to 20 qubit, oh, it's a whole lot of ball game. And I believe in the world it's 20, 30 qubit, which is available, right? Is there 1,000 qubit quantum? No, there's nothing which like that is available, right? It's I think the world standard right now is 2030, qubits. That means 20, 30 ions in one go. Bas. Like in ions don't exist in 20, 30 numbers. It may be million, at least million, billion, trillion. Is it not? It's like that. So it is a whole this thing complexity to be able to explore it. So this goes to show that the opulence of the world without Krishna is so baffling. It is so baffling. And this what happens, and this is where we see that the entire science gets saturated, is it not? Now, one of the reasons why the fundamental research is not happening in science, I know one of the reason is Okay, because people are really not seekers, but people are really, no, they would simply want money, it's not about a quest for happiness or quest for humanity, but it's about money. So that's one strong reason. Another reason which is there is also that why research in fundamental science is not happening, because fundamental scientific research is not going anywhere. So where is a dead end, then you go bang your head and bang your head and bang your head, and one time you bleed, second time you bleed, third time you bleed, fourth time you'll not go there. You'll say, okay, make a machinery, do a patent, earn money, and be peaceful. Is it not? Why keep banging the head when nothing is moving? And why nothing is moving? Because it's so complicated. And why it is so complicated and nothing is moving? Because it is separate from Krishna. That is exactly how it is. That's exactly how it goes and how it is. So what happens is that when the Lord says, when the Lord says He reserves the right of not being exposed to atheists and materialistic people, then what it means is basically that with a separatist attempt to understand the universe, the Maya Shakti gives a detour to a person. The Maya Shakti shows him a roadway, which is a deviated detour roadway, and on that roadway, you really don't find anything. So that's the whole point. You can keep doing round and round and round at the same place, and ages will pass, doing rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds. Is it not like that? So this is the point, is it not? This is the whole point actually. Just like you will see nowadays, if you see research generally, then what happens is that they don't want to. So what is they're given an equation, then they find out in which scenario it is not working. It is not working this scenario. Then what they do is that they just add some terms so that it can approximately work and predict in that scenario. So that is the level of research is going. That means what? That already now if the first equation is a detour, then you simply keep playing, then for the time being little bit movement temporarily it may work in a situation, but then again you know something little more about the situation, you will see it doesn't work. So you don't really much go anywhere, is it not? You don't really much go anywhere, is it not? That was the point. Now it's just like, now if you see science, you can even see that uh, in the nanoscale also, now the whole thing of going into quantum mechanics was because classical mechanics is not able to predict. Now the joke is here. It's a very big joke, but that joke is there. Now the joke is here. Now you have made a whole nanoscience which is based on quantum and all that. Oh, quantum equations, first Schrodinger, now to simplify Schrodinger, Cohensham, and this and that. So many equations are made, models are made, and all that. And the ridiculous aspect is that now those models are calculating. There are these, to do the calculations, you need supercomputer. The supercomputer will bang his head for 15 days, and then it will give you some results. 2 years you keep crunching. Means once you have put a job into motion in a supercomputer, just go to sleep or go for a holiday for 15 days, come back, you'll see the result. If at all your equations and your modeling was fine. If not, you'll understand something is wrong, then you trace you again. So the whole point is like that. Now the ridiculous thing about this is that now they say that now they say that now they say that okay, this is very messy. These calculations are going to be very messy.